Who do you want to be right now? In this situation, in this context, given whatever you're facing? I love asking my clients this question. This is a room full of coaches, and we get to ask questions like that of our clients all the time. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that wonderful? It's one of the reasons I'm so grateful to be doing this work and not litigating cases anymore. But to consider who we want to be, we need to know our values and our priorities. We need to know what brings us alive, and we need to know what triggers us, what we're reactive to. So we need to tune in and listen to ourselves. And in this hyper-stimulated world, I suggest to you that often takes a fair amount of effort. I think the challenge for building the tune-in muscle is tougher than ever. Consider the level of stimulation 100 years ago versus now. Consider the pace of life and the levels of distraction that one may have experienced on a September afternoon in 1923. Now consider the present. Technology constantly pulling on us, traffic, work demands, family demands, and the overall pace of life for most of us. Now, have we as humans evolved? Has the human machinery developed in the last 100 years? I don't think so. Not in our bodies and in our brains. Those are pretty much the same as a century ago. Not much biological evolution in the past 100 years compared to the millennia before that. The point is, we have the same biological tools being used to process exponentially higher levels of distraction and stimulation. So it's no wonder we can feel overwhelmed and unclear and pulled in different directions. We need to direct ourselves better. The winds of distraction and social pressure are too loud and too strong. It takes effort and discipline to hear our inner voice, but hear it we must. Connecting to what's most important for us is simply too important to overlook. Now, I think we all get how important it is to listen to others. I feel as though I'm coming at just the right time in this agenda because we've been talking about this during the course of the day. We understand that cognitively, but to really listen means to focus and eliminate distractions, and that is an underdeveloped muscle for most of us. It's hard to do this. How many of you are looking at your phones at this very moment? How well are we listening to our clients, really? And how could we ever really expect them to trust us if we're unable to deeply listen? How deeply and attentively are we listening to our team members? They need us to listen well in order to promote engagement, psychological safety, facilitate healthy task conflict, drive innovation, among other things. How devotedly are we listening to our partners and our kids? According to Kate Murphy, the author of this excellent book called You're Not Listening, What You're Missing and Why It Matters, we're not listening particularly well for a number of reasons. For one thing, most of us hate silence. People call silence dead air. Dead air! Who wants to be breathing that? Now, I think as coaches, we all know the magic of silence and how alive the air of silence really can be. But it sure feels like we're swimming against the current, trying to cultivate silence in our collective culture. Also, extraneous sounds and other distractions degrade our attention and accordingly our ability to listen. These include sounds from our environment. Did anybody hear that freight train coming through at about 10 p.m. last night? Yeah. Sounds from our physical surroundings, as well as inner distractions like recurring thoughts, and physiological distraction like after lunch fatigue, which makes it harder to listen to a speaker in an afternoon break, just for example. And our phones, our beloved phones. Research has shown that the mere presence of a cell phone, say on a lunch or dinner table, reduces the quality and depth of the conversation. Anybody surprised by that? Is it going to ring? Is it going to vibrate? Is a message going to appear? Can we really talk about something important, or are we going to be interrupted? And if I'm wondering about this, I've already been interrupted. All of this impacts the depth of our listening, thereby reducing the chances that we feel heard and respected and cared about. And in addition to this deeper level of connection and care that might be missed, there are, of course, some very practical reasons to up the level of our listening. But for most of us, even for the noble purpose of understanding others' wants and needs, listening is a very challenging thing to do. Perhaps it's even more challenging to listen to ourselves. I love the wonderful quotation from the French mathematician and philosopher Blaise Pascal. You may have heard this. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. And he wrote that in 1654. I recently read a story that referred back to some research conducted about 10 years ago. The headline in Science magazine back in July 2014 was, "People would rather be electrically shocked than left alone with their thoughts." Subheading, human mind may be wired to find inner reflection unbearable. It's funny, but it's serious. And it's serious because we need to tune into ourselves. Harry Kramer, the former CEO of Baxter and a professor at the Kellogg School, labeled self-reflection the process of silencing the noise and identifying goals as leadership's fundamental principle. Leadership's fundamental principle is self-reflection. And as he said, his quote, "People need to sit down and decide who they want to be." Now, I think, and this is my experience with my clients and my friends and my son, it can be scary to really quiet down, because if we do, then all the voices inside that we've been trying not to hear come bubbling up. All the buried self-judgments, all the self-doubts, whatever maybe we've been trying to repress. All that shadow stuff can emerge. Now, this may be true, but I'd suggest to you that what's also true is that when we really quiet down, the positive voices can also emerge. The self-affirming memories and images, the voices of encouragement, the cues of nature around us, more on that in a moment, and the nurturing sound of the silence itself can also emerge if we allow it. So let's support our clients to tune into those positive voices. So a few thoughts on how we can listen better to others. Listening well often requires paying attention to our surroundings. It's as much about a receptive environment as a receptive frame of mind. So that means doing our best to minimize anything that can compromise the connection. Do things like wave someone into your office or your corner of the Starbucks. Create a Zoom breakout room. Share an Uber. Create separation. This not only increases the degree of mutual listening, but it also helps demonstrate that you care and that it's important to you. Also, make the time for real listening. Like anything else, the most important things in life, we don't take the time to do the most important things. We have to make the time and claim the time and protect the time for what's most important. Ask for feedback. Picking up on something from earlier. Ask for feedback. When was the last time you turned to an important person in your life and asked them, "Do you feel that I listen well to you? What can I do to listen even better?" Wouldn't it be terrific if they had a specific, productive response? Maybe they know something about what works for them in terms of feeling heard. And this is certainly a good practice with our work colleagues and clients. Something else we can do to listen better is embrace silence. Give people the gift of silence, the space to think and gather their thoughts. Allow the power of silence to support your partner, support them to support them to pause and think and feel. Your listening to them can help them listen to themselves. Remember that listening, finally and very importantly, remember that listening is an action of loving. Don't withhold your loving. So how can we tune into ourselves better? For some people, it's a walk in nature. For others, it's yoga, meditation, prayer. All of these are wonderful activities for pulling us out of the conditioned swirl, the riptide of demands that often fills our lives. I'm interested in hearing how you do that. I've been engaging my clients in this conversation for many years, and it's a topic that's come up in my new podcast, Spirituality and Leadership. Many of us are fortunate enough to have friends and family that help us return to this deeper personal place. Being with these people, especially if we do it deliberately, helps us reconnect to what's important to us. So be with those people. I'm very fortunate because I have access to some special resources at my home in northern New Mexico, a herd of horses. In my experience, horses can invite us to a place of peace, an experience of peace that accesses our purpose and priorities. They have huge nervous systems, that's why they're used in therapy the way they are. They have huge nervous systems that impact ours. And if you believe the teachings of many indigenous peoples, they are wisdom teachers for us humans. When I accept the horse's invitation to drop into peace, I readily tune into my values, my priorities, my purpose. I can attune to myself and to others more deeply. What would it mean to us to make the time to create the space to really listen to our inner voice? The purpose-informed voice, below the chatter and habituated thought patterns, to the clarity of what gives each of our lives meaning, our inner compass. I doubt I'm telling you anything new. My hope is that this is a reminder, a loving, if uncomfortable nudge to do it, to make the time, to support your clients and teams, to reconnect with what matters most to you so that you can be more effective, more fulfilled, and yes, happy. So who do you want to be? One of my favorite quotations is from Howard Thurman, who said, and I'm going to read this, I want to get it right. There is something in every one of you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. It is the only true guide you will ever have, and if you cannot hear it, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that somebody else pulls. So consider this. Consider that tuning into ourselves is to practice self-determination and self-agency. Tuning into others is to demonstrate caring and respect, and to connect and to learn so as to be better prepared to lead. Let's make the world better by being better listeners.